Welcome to the ABQ Accent, where catalysts, innovators, and risk takers share what their accent is on their work. Like a spoken accent, we all have an inflection or emphasis on where we put our energy. Join us to learn how these folks are putting their accents to work, building their vision of the future, and how you can get involved. Hi, I'm Mariah Harrison, and this is the ABQ Accent. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm welcoming today my old and good friend, Destiny Logan. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Definitely outside of our typical meeting space, but
that's actually very true. Yeah. We should probably run down some of the list of places that we've enjoyed together, because I think we're great at supporting local together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Destiny Logan is from the Four Corners area, and she actually is what she calls a Double Lobo, which I really love. She's got her MBA and BBA from the University of New Mexico. So go Lobos. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Same here. And now I'm going to use that from now on. I'm a Double Lobo. Appreciate that. So also, Destiny is coming to us as the newly minted Senior Community Manager for Yelp, a recent promotion for her. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know that you've been working really hard in the Yelp sphere in Albuquerque for a while. Now, what does that area manager mean?
Yeah, so it means a million different things. Basically, I'm the voice on the ground here for Yelp.
Okay.
And I get to build community. That's kind of the baseline. Support local business through a million different ways.
Right. And I think that it's actually something that comes natural to you. One of the things that Yelp probably recognized early in that you already have a passion for your community. I think you've stayed in Albuquerque for a number of different reasons. So let's talk more about your trajectory. What sort of brought you to Yelp from the Four Corners? Is there a storyline that you want to share?
Oh, absolutely. That's a long story though, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I ended up in Albuquerque for college, grew up in Farmington, spent my entire childhood there. And then I was 17 when I moved here and moved into the dorms, had the very traditional undergrad experience at UNM, led to my first job, which was in the nonprofit world. And that kind of where all this community building started. Yep. Got to really put a lot of time and energy into learning what was going on in the city, the good, the bad.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the first step. And then during COVID, I got my master's and had this really great opportunity with Yelp. And it's funny because I've definitely found myself in jobs that I'm like, one knows what that is, constantly having to explain what my job even is. Right. And sometimes I don't even know because it changed. Like all of the jobs I've held have changed on a daily basis.
As assigned or as otherwise?
Exactly. As the wind calls. But basically the bottom line is connecting the community, whether that be people from around, like in the last role, it was connecting people from around the world with these really cool things happening in the city on the nonprofit world or government, etc. Like just general creativity. Yeah. And then here with Yelp, it's been a lot of like just kind of creating a community, creating local support, and getting to shout out really amazing local business leaders, businesses themselves, etc. Just the things that make Albuquerque so special. Yeah,
I think that you have it's really a privilege to be able to see some of the stuff you do and meet the people who are doing the things behind the scenes. Like we might go to a restaurant, but we might not know who owns it or the back story behind them.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And I think that's been one of the most unique elements of everything is you do get to meet these really cool people and hear why they're here in Albuquerque doing whatever business. Like just top of mind, there's a local baker who was a lawyer in Italy. She's Italian, grew up in Italy, went to law school, and now she's baking Italian pastries here in Albuquerque. Like, what a life trajectory. And she's so sweet. Linda's Dulce is one of my favorite spots for pistachio croissants. But
fabulous. Why didn't I ask you to bring samples of wherever you were today?
I wasn't there today, but no, absolutely. But that's just one tiny example of just really cool people that end up here and get to share their passions through whether it be food or like Yelp is more than just food businesses. And I love more than just food businesses.
Right.
And so whether that be art or really anything, getting to share the best of the city.
Right. Gosh, there's so many places we could go now. So I think most recently you and I went to one of the new non-alcoholic drink places. And I think there's more than one now.
Yes.
But up there near the Sawmill area.
Yeah, Lost Cultures.
Lost Cultures Tea Bar. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Tea company?
Tea.
But they have like elixirs, they have non-alcoholic drinks that have nothing to do with tea. It's a really creative. And he's got a whole story about why he does what he does. And I think you're able to promote those types of stories through your interactions. Like you're able to curate events with these folks to do just that.
Absolutely. Yeah. The event planning and whatnot is a small piece of my job, but it's the most visible. And absolutely, we get people out to check out these businesses and ideally go back, enjoy them, find new local love.
Right.
And it's really cool because I also have a lot of power in who I choose to collaborate with and getting to meet these people that really care. One of our Yelp values is just like play well with others, and I get to kind of find these businesses that really care about community and aren't just existing here, but like they're investing in the city and the people, and there's so many cool people here.
Well, I want to talk more about that too, but go back for a second. If curating events and some of those interactive experiences is a small part of what you do, what do you think you spend the most time on, or that you try to spend time on to promote these things?
Absolutely. I think relationship building is the kind of the hidden part of things, whether it be just going out and hanging out in little coffee shops. Like I always run into Mariah at the Brew, which is one of my favorite spots. But it's that relationship building is community building. All of these things tie hand in hand. And I think that's usually less visible because, you can attend an event and see that, but like only I know my network deal. And I like that's the value that you create, and like you get to like that's what you get to own of like the personal. And
they can rely on you too.
Absolutely.
I mean, it goes both ways. Like they know that you're going to be a sort of a champion for the businesses that you build these relationships with, and not just for the sake of Yelp, but of course that's part of the job. But I think that's the relationships transfer into other collaborations. The elites that are part of your program probably build relationships as an extended part of what you've built.
Absolutely. Yeah. Constantly hearing stories of like, oh, I was just at this place getting dinner that we were there a couple months ago, or I've started bringing my book club here. Those are always really fun because the bottom line, like it's great to get people in the doors to spend money and support local, but also, creating those relationships. And like, I love walking into a business and I'm like, I know the owner, like I know the staff. Yeah. That's a great feeling for anyone when you feel like, okay, like I'm a part of something. Like I'm not just dropping in, spending money and walking away with a croissant or whatever. Right. Like I get to be a part of this story.
So also, what you were saying is that Yelp isn't just about restaurants. So what do you think are the most maybe outlying types of businesses that you've been to lately, or you're working with more that you'd want people to know about?
Absolutely.
I mean, is there a tire shop? Is there like what are we looking at?
No, there's so many different things. I had a great meeting yesterday with Ayana Denise, who does skincare. She's a really cool skin scientist person. Right. And she's just someone I've met through this kind of work, and has become a friend, and get to chat with her about how things are going and like the growth she's experiencing, and also the woes of being a small business owner, and like ebbs and flows, of course. But even outside of just being here in Albuquerque, like when I'm traveling, I use Yelp or whatever. I make a point of finding great gift shops or whatnot, and I think I try to be intentional about shouting those businesses out here in Albuquerque as well, because I know we have people coming through that are like, I want a cool, unique gift that's not like a gas station. I personally collect magnets.
I was going to say magnet.
So I'm very particular about my magnets. And so I'm like, I want other people to know what cool gift we have. And that's one thing I will say about Albuquerque. I think per capita, we have so many more like just great little artisan shops than a lot of big cities.
Agreed.
So yeah, getting to shout out those types of businesses, just like the possibilities are endless.
And it's not just for new businesses, right? I mean, you're out there sort of raising the visibility of existing.
Absolutely. Yeah. We work with all kinds of businesses, really like anything you can touch on. And even if it's not directly working with a business, like still supporting however we can, encouraging people to share their local love is really like the bottom line, I guess, is like we can all show up in our community in so many different ways, but like whether that be something like writing a review on Yelp, like just we get to choose how we exist in the world. And I want to actively every day choose positivity and just, like show up, support, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, I think I love that you're articulating that out loud, because I would say that is a descriptor of you anyway. Like knowing you personally, I think you really do take on a positive spin to things, and you're able to sort of approach things with an open mind and an open heart. And like that's part of your purpose, is really just to bring the love, to share the love. And I thank you for that also.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's really important. And again, this isn't always about, or like showing up and supporting your community isn't about like spending money.
Right.
Something that is coming to mind right now is the open spaces in the city. You can leave a Yelp review for that, but also just shouting out those spaces that people don't exactly end up across it every day.
Like it might not be part of their normal travels or entertainment.
There's so many different things in the city that make it so special, and I think we should really try to appreciate as much as we can.
Yeah. So let's think about a day in the life of Destiny, not just the Yelp rep, but like an average Saturday. How is it that you are showing up for your community?
Yeah, I think one of my main things and just like even my own like self-care is spending time with the people I love, whether that be friends or family or just general community. But I think that's really like what keeps me going is the valuable time spent with really cool people. And like that's been a big piece of my job and like just my life and as a professional is meeting really, really cool people. And it's almost hard. I have a list going in my phone of people I needed to circle back with and like check in, because there's you hit this point where it's like, oh my gosh, like I haven't talked to so-and-so in like 3 months. Like there's so many cool people and so many things to do. Like you kind of have to be on top of like just circling back. Yeah,
it's really okay. I think making a list and being intentional about it makes perfect sense, because it's you might have a regular circle of your friends that you sort of rely on, no questions, because that's sort of your inner circle. But there are other people that affect our lives that you'd want to make time for, so that they know they're impacting you in a good way and you want to return that somehow, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So everybody start making lists of the people you need to get back with. I'll tell you what, it works. And when you say sharing your love for local, you're reminding us that this is not just a hashtag. This is not a once a year Saturday. This is not just maybe even in your neighborhood, but to branch out a little, go somewhere new. Like, I love that you suggested the open space, because if I remember correctly, per capita also, Albuquerque has the most open space for any city in the country.
Absolutely. I can't fact check that exactly.
I can check it.
But exactly, there's so many cool things to do. It's really easy to get in our routines of like, I'm like, I just had dinner there last week. I'm going to go there again because it sounds good. But I think there's a lot of intentionality in getting out and trying new places. Some people are more comfortable with that than others. I grew up in a family that spent a lot of time at like fast food chains and the chains. And so I think that was what ingrained in me of like, okay, I want to try the different things. Like I want to just try fun things. And then it kind of has led to this like, okay, I'm I'm being intentional about where I'm spending my money, where I'm spending my time, because there is obviously like life is hard sometimes. Like sometimes, especially today, like money doesn't stretch as far as it used to be. So like looking back of like, do I feel good about where I'm spending my money? Do I feel good about where I'm showing up and like giving my energy to, even if it is unpaid or whatnot, like going in and just being purposeful. And of course, like no one's perfect. Like we're all going to go through the drive-thru every once in a while, like whatnot. But I think there's so much more impact in the local approach.
The ripple effect there too, right? Like, I mean, we might not see it, but money spent and time spent with locals goes a little bit further.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Small businesses are so important, and small business is what makes us really cool. Like as a city, you look at people that come here and they experience Albuquerque for the first time, and it's the local spots. Those are the life changing, and like I think about the businesses that like I have a list of who I send people to when I'm getting asked like what should I go check out, and like there's certain things that just feel like home. And
I get that. Well, and we can shout out anything during the course of this conversation. Like, I mean, the first thing that came to mind is I would like, they're not just feeling like home or must feel experiences, but they're reliable. And they have a lot of like tasty options, for example. I mean, food is always my first choice where to tell people to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're thinking through like what to do, well, here's where you should start. You start with breakfast at Bareilles. That's always, even when I've had coworkers in town or whatever, that's where I take people because like, you know, the Huevos Rancheros Deluxe, that is where you start. And then of course, like you have all these other fun things to do that you can only experience here.
Like if you have an hour versus 4 hours or 7 hours, we would guide them differently, but you have a list. Yeah,
absolutely.
Makes sense. Yeah. There's a particular place that I really love. Their chocolate croissants, and I won't go anywhere else for them. You know, and there's a favorite place that I get, like you said, the brew, my matcha, but there's also, you know, we're really well known for our coffee shops, the high quality of their generation and whatnot. So even if and that's also part of the experience, is not just being able to diversify your experience of some similar things, like where do you go for your red chili or your coffee or something. But I think it all gets tied in when you said earlier that they know who you are walking in the door. Absolutely.
Well, and another thing that brought up for me is the Yelp side of things, we put out national lists on a million different topics. And they're all fun and yummy.
Yeah.
But Albuquerque makes a lot driven top lists, and it's just pulled by general data on like
reviews.
Review data, very like data-driven stuff, but like we just put out our top 25 coffee shops in the U.S. and Castle Coffee's on there.
Oh, nice.
Like there's some really great businesses here that like statistically with all of our Yelp data are pulling is really awesome.
Yeah, and that's great.
That's always a feel good.
I feel like Cutbo has made one of those.
Cutbo's been on some.
Also,
there's a lot of great examples of local businesses that have made these national lists that we have just for being great, like just genuinely based on consumer feedback. Yeah.
Well, and I think that also says like you might have mixed feelings, well, not you, but the general public might have mixed feelings about reviews they read or posting reviews. But I would say it's worth the time to post a review of somewhere that you love on Yelp so that they do get recognized, not just in your circle. Because I think we're more likely to tell people what we don't like, so we should make the effort to write things about what we do like.
Absolutely. And like no pressure to like however it comes easiest to you and most naturally to share your local love.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is remembering, like we're going to have bad days, but really like we have to be intentional about sharing the good stuff. And that's just whatever you're putting out into the universe, no matter like whether it be just like, oh, I went to this great business, but just existing in the world every day. Like choose to like be happy every once in a while. It changes things.
Yeah, the positive outlook. And I think So kicking it back a couple of years for our friendship, when you and I were working together on the nonprofit speaker series, Impact and Coffee, I remember when you came onto the team, and I think what we really loved about you was that whole positivity attitude, was that you were looking forward to being part of a community that supported community. So thinking back to those days, what do you think was your favorite part about coordinating and working with that group?
Absolutely. It's connection building. Like this has come up a lot in recent weeks, and just thinking about, I've always said like my superpower is connecting. And I think that was always the really cool thing is you meet someone and then years later you're 5 connections away and you're doing something really cool.
Yeah.
So on my drive downtown, I was listening to the episode with David and
Larry.
Yeah, and Lincho. I met them through like I'm like trying to trace it back. I met them through Julia Jones, who's amazing, and who I met through Eric Renz Whitmore, who I met through you guys. And like, yeah, like just all of these cycles of like you meet these cool people and then you realize, oh, like everyone knows each other. Like all these cool people know each other and we're ending up in the same rooms again and again. And that's what's really cool. Like you never know who you're going to run into, and having these conversations and seeing how everyone's so interconnected has been like a real pleasure. And with Impact and Coffee, I think that was really one of the best parts is you get to see the room for collaboration, because there's a lot of drive and like desire in the city, but there's nothing cooler than when you see 2 very passionate people or organizations come together and say, hey, we're kind of working towards the same thing. Like, let's make it better by being together and like having that multitude of input. And so, yeah, I think that was definitely like one of the coolest things I got to take away with Impact.
I would agree. And you're really good at it. And I think, I mean, so many ideas came from that and so much energy, you know, within our team and then amongst the attendees. And you're right about making the connections. Yeah,
absolutely. That's community. Like those spaces are what community is. And we find it in so many different ways. But like at the end of the day, whether it be with my role at Yelp or whatever, it's the bottom line for my soul is just building community and connecting with cool people.
So if that's the bottom line, what are the other layers? Because I feel like I know that at home you have 2 very rambunctious, loving dogs.
Yes.
And that you also travel within the state just to see new vistas. Like I know that you enjoy finding new places, maybe hitting a hot springs or just taking a drive for a view. What do you really love to do when you're not at work?
Absolutely. You kind of hit the nail on the head. Getting out. I definitely really like trying different things, whether it be like a trip down to Ruidoso or further. Like I'm also always more than happy to get out of the state too. But you've
traveled abroad a bit.
Yeah, I've been to a number of different countries. I studied abroad, lived abroad for a little while. And so it's just like finding those stories in every city, finding the local art and the local flavor. And we have so much of it here. So yeah, we have a lot of privilege, and like there's so many different things that are only a couple hours away. I think a lot about like White Sands, like these national parks and state parks we have access to that are so very cool. And I talk to people on the East Coast or people in these very congested areas that do not have access. And so we are very privileged to be able to just like get in and drive every once in a while and just be. Yeah.
We can just close my eyes and turn around and tell me to stop and point somewhere, and I will find something within 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours that's beautiful. That
Absolutely.
To rest and hike.
And there's like, I've been here for my whole life, and there's still a list of things I haven't gotten to. And so it's being intentional of like, okay, let's try something new. Like, it's great to go back to the places you've been and enjoy them. But like, get out and do some new stuff every once in a while.
Yeah. Have you been to the Very Large Array?
I have not.
Add that to your list if it's not.
I also haven't been to Carlsbad, and that's been another one that I'm like, why haven't I been?
Yeah. But, well, it's just a bit more planning. So maybe an overnight for a nice, comfortable, like do the circle, like go to Carlsbad and then hit White Sands and then go to TRC and then come home.
Oh, trust me, I have a whole giant road trip actually planned out with like White Sands and Carlsbad, like Big Bend down in Texas, like go to Marfa. Like I've got a few mapped out. It's just finding the time and being intentional.
I appreciate that. Nice. Good job. So do you have a favorite place that you've been in the last 6 months that you maybe keep going back to, like the best French fries or the best nook to read or walking area?
Oh, that is so hard because there's so
or all three.
Many different places that you just
maybe something you don't think people know about that you don't necessarily want to keep secret.
Yeah. Just had a great conversation yesterday with the owner of Flying Roadrunner Bakery. She's really amazing and has really great pastries.
Where's that? What part of town?
They're in Old Town. So, okay, something I really want to shout out is Old Town is so much cooler than it was a couple years ago.
Agree.
When I moved here, like maybe went to Old Town once in college, and then for some reason within the last couple of years, I found myself in Old Town a lot. But there's been this huge influx of local businesses who have joined, taking over old spots. And like
you said, the artisan shops, stuff like that.
Yeah, so many different artisan shops. I have a problem because I go and I buy prints and art, and I'm like, I literally don't have frames for this. But yeah, there's so many restaurants and like coffee shops and all of these different things that exist in all these different parts of town. It's just getting out and exploring. We also, if you ever want, like a pro tip is I search hot and new on Yelp. And that always promotes it pops up with all of the newly open businesses. And so that's a cool way to find new things. There's like a new Korean chicken place over on Manal called Kokyo, and really great. I just went and got a great banh mi yesterday at a new spot on Manal. Nice. Like it's just actively looking and just going out, trying new things. Okay. But I could talk all day on the great places to eat and grab a drink or shop, etc.
Yeah, me too. We might have to do a remote podcast follow-up somewhere, like location with a bench and food. So let me ask you, with all this time that you get to spend with locals, what is it about Albuquerque that you wish people really knew?
Yeah, I think Albuquerque is spicy. Like we have so much flavor here, whether that be literally or just like the culture it's a different level of existence sometimes. And sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not funny, like some of the things you see happening. Right. But Albuquerque is its own thing, and like people hunt for that kind of like. There's just like you go to these bigger cities or go to these other areas, and like Albuquerque's got something that you just can't find anywhere else, and
it's hard to put a word to it or a name, but the feeling is there.
Exactly. For me, it feels like home. I identify as Albuquerque as my home more than say like Farmington. Like I grew up in Farmington, but Albuquerque's home. Yep. And it's because like there's so much pride here and people are really invested.
For good reason. Yeah.
For great reason. Yeah. And
well, I think we want to keep you too. So stick around. Thank you, Destiny. We appreciate your work. Yeah. And I appreciate your heart and your just really, every time after you and I have hung out, I walk away feeling better. And I think that that's just part of your heart forward work.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate you. And just like a great example of these friendships that have been created, just getting out and connecting with people and continuing to maintain those relationships, even if we don't talk every day. Like it's still, you have like this plethora of community that you get to tap into. And that's really, really like what keeps me here.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, Destiny. We appreciate you being one of our accents. And we want to also thank the Bloomstone for a little bit of extra energy today. We've got this malachite stone with us for abundance and also heart-forward energy. And we just hope that the rest of you are having a community-centered, beautiful day. And we hope you come back for another ABQ Accents.